Welcome to the Personal Injury Marketing Minute, where we quickly cover the hot topics in the legal marketing world. I'm your host, Lindsay Busfield. When it comes to scaling your law firm and driving profits, getting new clients in the door is only half the battle. Not only do you need to have a solid intake team to convert leads into clients, but you need to have the right internal systems to get the most out of those client relationships. Lawrence LeBrocq of Garces, Grabler, and LeBrocq has developed a streamlined approach to maximize profits through uncompromising settlement standards. This starts with assigning appropriate value to cases, streamlining the settlement process, and not compromising on the settlement's worth. Not only does this maximize profits for the firm, but it delivers life-changing results for clients who become more apt to sing the firm's praises. Lawrence joins us today to discuss how this system works and how you can grow your firm by implementing some of these basic principles. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Lindsay. Great to see you again.
You as well. We had you on the podcast a few weeks ago as you were preparing for a presentation at PILMA, and you had some incredible insights, and you are doing something very special within your firm. And I wanted to have you back so that we could dive a little bit deeper into what it is that you're doing and how other law firms can emulate this so that they can scale successfully. But let's go ahead. For those who haven't heard your original podcast, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your practice.
Well, I was a litigator for over 30 years. I made the change to become a CEO and the managing partner. And so what I did was I started going to seminars around the country, listening to the smartest and brightest minds in the industry on how to scale a law firm and how to grow. And just to a short synopsis of what we've done, we've gone from a $14 million a year law firm to a $32 million a year law firm in 3 years. We've over doubled our income and doubled our profits over the same period of time.
That is incredible. And I'm sure that there are so many attorneys who are listening today going, how in the world did you do that? And how can we take some lessons from what you're doing as a CEO and just use some solid business basics to grow your firm? And so, since this is a marketing podcast, talk to me about some of the strategies that you are using to get clients in the door.
Oh, the marketing that we're doing is incredible. And I'd like to say it's all my ideas, but I've taken these ideas from people all over the country. For example, we have purchased a tremendous amount of billboards. So in the tri-state area, we have over 100 billboards and posters, and they're one and the same. It's just a size, and if they're on a main drag or if they're on a smaller highway. So we have brand recognition. So that started 3 years ago. And we started branding with the billboards. We've also partnered with Rutgers University, which is the state university of New Jersey, and we also partnered with the Giants. So we are New Jersey. So we have people want to hire people they know, like, and trust. So now they know us and they trust us because of our affiliation with Rutgers, our reputation, and now with the Giants. So that has really helped our brand.
Yes. And so when you have that visibility, when you have built up that know, like, and trust factor, you are going to be getting more clients in the door year over year. And that is just going to be an exponential growth that the ROI on that just becomes increasingly better year over year, because it's easier to build on a brand that is already established than it is to start one from scratch. So the more that you continue to invest in your branding, the higher revenues you're going to be getting from that investment.
Well, I'll tell you, I told my partners, I said, the one thing is we're a great law firm. We have top litigators, but if nobody knows who we are, they're not going to come to us. They're going to go to the people that they hear of. So what we've done in New Jersey is basically, if you want to wash your clothes, you think of Tide. You want to grab something for your a little mess. You're gonna grab a Kleenex. We want it to be the Tide of personal injury law firms. And I think we've accomplished that. But what really helped was, in the past, over 50% of our cases came in through word of mouth, from our reputation, from other attorneys, from judges, from prior clients. But now We're under 50% because we've grown so much in our branding that we're getting a whole new client base is coming in because now of the brand awareness. And they found out who GGL is, our sayings GGL wins. And it's done wonderful things for the growth of our firm. But then, as we're going to talk about, that brings new challenges on how to scale properly.
Well,
Because
and I think it goes into something that is kind of the inverse of what you had just said, which is you can be the best law firm on earth. If nobody knows you, they're not going to hire you. But you can also be, very well known and not do well by your clients and have a horrible reputation, and nobody's going to hire you that way either. So you need to have both of these pieces in play. So you have the branding, and now you also have the infrastructure to really serve your clients well. And that's one of the big pieces here that we're going to focus on. And when that starts is clearly when you are deciding to accept a case. When somebody has approached you, they've come through the door, they have said, "You're the lawyer I want to work with, here is my case." So, but not every case is going to be great that comes through the door. So talk to me a little bit about your screening process and how you vet new clients that are coming through the door.
Well, the initial screening process, of course, is with the new client team. Some people call it an intake team. The new client team will screen the case initially, and we're going to err on the side of taking a case in and send it to the attorney in that area. So, with 12 offices, we try to break it down by jurisdiction, various counties in the state, because we're throughout the state. So it'll go into an attorney. That attorney will vet the case and they have to review the case and meet with the client within 48 hours. So there's no delay. There's an immediate phone call and a scheduling of the meeting so we can find out how the incident occurred, what type of treatment they've had, what type of injuries they've had, and then we're going to try to quarterback the treatment to make sure they get to the proper doctor for the type of injury they have, making sure there's liability in the case, and we're going to look at all the facts. That's the initial process. But it goes on from there, and that once this person is set up, we're in constant contact with our client. It's every 30 days, it's mandatory contact with the client. Now, we also use some systems are in place where they're automatically contacted through AI. I don't want to sell any companies here on the podcast, but we use certain companies that will contact the client for us through every stage of the litigation or pre-litigation process, but our clients are still being constantly contacted every 30 days by our team members. So when a case comes in, we're a little bit different. We don't split pre-litigation and litigation departments any longer. Because I was a litigator for so many years, I didn't like that split. Because sometimes you had what you would call a pre-litigation manager who wasn't an attorney, almost practicing law. They weren't really practicing law, they were overseen by an attorney. But I thought it was better to get the client in the hands of an attorney right away that was actually talking to the client. They're assigned a paralegal, and there's your team from day one through 4 years down the road when this case goes to trial. It builds trust, it builds empathy, they understand each other, and they become a team. There's no a bunch of paralegals working on the file, somebody's getting passed from one paralegal to the next or from one lawyer to the next. There are exceptions. Because if a case is a huge case, we may want to move it from an attorney that doesn't have the significant experience or has the multi-million-dollar verdicts that this case may warrant down the road.
Well, and I think that you're doing so many things right with that philosophy, starting from having the every 30-day touch point, which is one of the biggest complaints that you see across clients with law firms is that they don't have that regular communication. They don't know what to expect in terms of realistic timelines for communication with their attorneys, or attorneys will just leave them hanging for 6 months because there hasn't been any progress in the case, and then the client feels completely forgotten about. But by having that touch point built in, you are establishing that trust, you're continuing that relationship, and they know what to expect from the relationship that you have with them. And I think that that's the first thing that you are doing so well, that lawyers that are listening today, if you can find a way to implement that, that will be a game changer for your client relationships. And then the second piece, obviously talking about having this team that is servicing a client that isn't changing, because we've all been in that position where we're working with a company and we're handed down to the junior associate, or your project manager changes 3 times in 6 months. And then from the company side, there's so much rework having to get done to get caught back up, and they've lost the tone of the relationship. They've lost details by switching hands, and they just aren't servicing that account very well. And everybody knows it and everybody gets frustrated. So by having the same team members, that builds that consistency, it builds that brand relationship, and ultimately it makes it so that these settlements are being maximized by the end of this. And I think that that is so important. And it's a novel concept that not a lot of law firms are implementing and can really help to boost the value of these cases.
Well, as
But
you know, we do the value of the cases. So
yes.
what makes us very different is that we value every case in the firm, not just the eight-figure cases or the seven-figure cases, but we're valuing the $50,000 cases as well. And we put a minimum settlement value on every case in the firm, and nobody is allowed to settle the case below that price, or they're terminated on the spot. And the reason for that is we never want to undersettle a case for a client. We're a client-centric firm and we care about the clients. So if we think a case, and I'm going to use easy numbers, if we value a case at $100,000, that case will go to trial if we don't get that $100,000. The exception to that is if a client really wants to take the money. So we'll tell them, look, if you want to leave $25,000 on the table, to me, that's a lot of money, but it's your case. If you want to do that, that's up to you. But we think we can get $100,000 on this case if you're just patient. But we do that by setting expectations in that initial conference with the client. We explain to them the procedure, how the insurance company is going to offer you pennies on the dollar. If you do have a $100,000 case, they're going to offer you $3,000. 6 months later, they may offer you $5,000. Then they're going to go up to $7,500. 2 years down the road, it'll be $25,000. Maybe 3 years are up to $50,000. And you probably won't see that $100,000 till the day of trial. So we explain that to people. But if you want to take the short end money, you can do that. But we would rather maximize the value of your claim and get you the money that you deserve for the injuries you sustained in this particular incident.
Right. And it's unfortunate that clients have to be dragged through this, and that insurance companies are so manipulative and know that a lot of times when a client is in this type of situation, that they need the money and they need it now. And it's so frustrating, but how wonderful it is that you are a team that is working together to really maximize what a client can get, and that can ultimately be life changing and help your clients to get as close to a normal life as possible on the other end of it. It just takes that patience, but it also takes a team of attorneys that is willing to work the case and willing to go to trial and willing to fight for the extra $50,000 because it's worth it to you. So talk to me, how do you value the cases? What's your process for setting that figure?
Well, I was lucky enough to be a hired gun by other big law firms in the area. So I tried cases all over the state. So I have an idea, a very good idea of what the value of a case is based upon the injuries, the liability assessment in the various counties throughout New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and in New York. So we put a value on every case based upon the injuries. And of course, that could change. If somebody has a subsequent injury to the same body part, that may reduce the value of the case. Or they may have a relapse or a progressive problem where they need another surgery, and that could increase the value of a case. But we're constantly valuing our cases to make sure that we have the maximum value on these cases so we don't undersettle anything.
Right. And how does that get communicated to your team? What does your internal communications process look like?
What we do is we meet quarterly, and we value every case in the firm. So we have a back and forth about the injuries, the liability questions, priors, of course, the age, how the person, now the person could have the same injury and one person could recover completely, and another person has, we'll just take a knee injury. Person could have a surgery on their knee and they're fantastic. So that case is not as worth as much as the person who had a terrible result and may need a future surgery or a future knee replacement. So we constantly value those cases. And the team can come to me weekly. We have what's called a return or reevaluation meeting, where if there's a case that they want to have revalued, they can do that. And it's every Wednesday at 12 o'clock. We do that. Now, sometimes I'll be busy at that time. We may move it to a Thursday, but it's a weekly reevaluation process. But quarterly, we sit down and we take hours and go over cases and set values in every team in the firm.
And it is so important to your core values as a firm to not waver from these, to not be pushed around and accept a lower settlement from the insurance company. And there are a lot of law firms out there that they're willing to budge a little bit. But why is it so important to you and your firm to stick to this amount?
Well, there's different business models, and I don't want to disparage any other firms, but we are a litigation law firm. Our goal and our niche is we prepare every case from trial. And that doesn't mean the weekend before the trial is scheduled. It's from the day it comes in the office, we start preparing that case for trial. We get the certified hospital records. We get all certified records because those can be moved into evidence at trial. If you don't get certified records, they can't be. They're cheaper, but you can't move them into evidence. So right from the start, we are looking to set this up for trial because we have the reputation now that people know we're going to try the case. So they're not going to try to undersettle us because there's a lot of firms out there that don't try cases. We do, and it's part of our core values is to maximize the value of a claim, be committed to winning, uh, committed to excellence, and we treat clients like family. So it's very important to us to maximize the value. If you don't try cases, you're never going to get that full settlement. And insurance companies are multi-billion-dollar corporations. They know who will try a case. They know what your record is when you do try cases, and they will pay maximum value to a good law firm. They'll never pay maximum value to a firm that doesn't try cases because they know they'll undersettle.
Well, and it's important to understand how your reputation works across the board, because not only are you establishing and protecting your reputation with your clients, but you're also establishing and protecting your reputation against these insurance companies. And as soon as you have an attorney in staff that accepts something for lower than the full value of the case, then that chips away at the reputation that you have built for yourself with those insurance companies.
Yes, it does. And that's why, it used to be back in the day, they kept a little black book we used to say on everybody. Now, then they generated a computer called Colossus, and now everybody uses AI and they can predict what an attorney or what a firm will get if they take this case to trial. So that's why you have to build that reputation because I've seen and talked to defense lawyers and adjusters for the insurance companies, and they know who the weak firms are and who the strong firms are. Just like on the plaintiff side, we know what insurance companies are going to fight you tooth and nail until the end and force you to try a case, and we know which ones will cave at trial. So it works both ways.
It does. And it is a matter of having the right people on staff who are going to be willing to put up the fight when necessary. But clearly, not everybody comes to law with that mentality. And how do you coach your team to be able to stand up and to be able to stand firm and not be intimidated by the really pushy insurance companies that have those scare tactics in place?
Well, they can have all the scare tactics in the world. Judges can try to force you to settle cases because judges want to move their docket. So they want you sometimes to undersettle cases. They'll yell and try to intimidate them. And what I tell all of our attorneys, the less experienced ones, is tell them you'll get fired if you don't get this number. That Mr. LeBrocq set the number, and if I don't get this, I'm terminated on the spot. So we have to try this case if the insurance company isn't going to pay X value. And so it takes the pressure off of them and puts it on me.
I love that.
I've actually had judges call me up and say, if you're setting all the values, we'd like you to come to the settlement conference. And I said, I'm not coming to the settlement conference. I set the value. I said, Your Honor, it's your job now to find a judge so we can try this case to get the fair value. So we are not intimidated by insurance companies, judges, law firms, or other attorneys. We are willing to get in the ring and fight for the maximum value for our clients. It's who we are. It's what we do.
That's fantastic. And clearly, you have high expectations of your team. You are very demanding of them so that they can be strong and fight for the maximum settlement value for your clients. But this requires a lot of work, clearly. And I know attorneys get into this practice because they're ready to work, and but that doesn't necessarily protect them from burnout. So, what do you have built into your culture that helps to prevent burnout from the attorneys and the team that's working for you?
We're a work hard, play hard type of organization. It doesn't matter how many hours you put in. We want to see results. We want to make sure the clients are happy. Our Google ratings have gone up. We're at a 4.8 now. So they're consistently going up because we talk to our clients. We have happy clients. Now, I'll get back to that in a second, but every 2 weeks we have 2 hours of training. It's mandatory training for every attorney. Now, we have several certified trial lawyers, but every 2 weeks we get together for 2 hours and discuss a particular subject. Everyone has the outline of how to prepare a case, what things to do. We have, I was going to say a name, but we have a training program for all of our paralegals and team members that aren't attorneys, so they know how to use the systems that we have, our case management system, all the AI tools that we have to help us. So we train our people, and then we're accessible. Now, as far as burnout is concerned, we never want somebody burning out. So we have some great partnerships, and we have 4 or 5 get-togethers a year. It's actually 5. It used to be 4. We've upped it. We have a beginning breakfast in the beginning of the year where everybody gets together. We have a beautiful brunch and we talk about all the goals we met. We give out awards and praise everyone that's done wonderful things, talk about all the goals that we've accomplished and where we want to go for the following year. So we praise and we set the roadmap for the following year. So everybody knows where they stand and what is expected of them. Then we'll have a spring event where we're partners with the Somerset Patriots. So we rented out the party deck and we have a spring event there where everybody can come. They can bring their family, friends. It's an open event. In the summer, we have a huge meeting again where we say how we're doing for the first 6 months and what we're expected to do over the next 6. But then it's a family picnic. Everybody gets together where people are swimming, people are playing softball, plenty of food and alcohol, and it's a great time. Then we just finished. We Just to give you an idea of how much great our culture is. Out of our 150 team members, we had well over 100 people walk with Eric LeGrand in the Walk to Believe in the fight against paralysis at Rutgers. Eric LeGrand was paralyzed on the Rutgers football field, and he's taken over the Dana and Christopher Reeves Foundation in the fight against paralysis. But of our team members, we had over 100 of them show up to walk and support Eric LeGrand on a Saturday. And
Wow.
then, of course, we had to get together after that where we rented out the party deck and had a nice suite so everybody could get together. And we do that also. We have a beautiful party at the end of the year where it's as nice as any wedding reception you've ever been to. And we get our whole team together. And then people will meet. There's a lot of dinners during the year that we get together. We meet with all of our attorneys quarterly. We have a huge lunch and learn. So there's a lot of things that we do to try to prevent the burnout. And we have our more seasoned litigators there to help answer any question of our less experienced team members.
And that goes a long way. It shows that you are invested in your employees' well-being, just as you would be invested in your clients' well-being. And you build that community, you have the resources in place so that somebody who needs support can go talk to somebody who is senior in the firm to have that support. And then they can relax and build that camaraderie at all of these different events. And I think that that is definitely applaudable. So well done with building that culture internally as well. And
And
so
then
if a lawyer listening today,
I was also going to say, we also send people around the country to go to CLEs.
oh,
You want to go to, because everybody goes to the New Jersey CLEs at NJAJ, and they're great. But then you want to send them out to hear how people do it out in Chicago or how people are doing it nationally. So it increases their knowledge base in how to do things, how to take depositions. You could hear from a superstar like Mark Lanier on different things. So we send people around the country and allow them to expand their knowledge base as well. It's one thing for me to bring it back to them, but it's another thing for them to hear it in person. And I'm sorry I cut you off a little bit.
no, I think that's an excellent point. I think that's very, very creative because when you are attending the CLEs for your own bar association or within your own community, it kind of can become a bit of an echo chamber. And then you're just copying what everybody else is doing in your own state. And so it helps so much to get outside of your bubble and to hear what people are doing from around the country, from the other side of the coast there. You can bring in fresh ideas that really help to boost your practice, both in terms of your branding and your marketing, but also in terms of your internal business operations that can help you streamline and boost your profits more.
And as you know, we attract hungry, aggressive attorneys because we pay a percentage based, we're a percentage based law firm, and it's a high percentage. So the more money that our attorneys get for their clients, the more money they're making. So we attract aggressive people that really want to hustle and maximize the value. So that also helps because it's something no one, I don't think any other law firm in New Jersey has our pay scale or how we pay out. So that attracts like I said, the top litigators that really want to make a lot of money. And it's not only about making money, it's they know that our first core value is treat clients like family. So you need to take care of the clients. And by doing that, we're going to maximize the value.
Well, when one person wins within your firm, you all win. It wins for the business, it wins for the clients, it wins for your reputation, both in terms of the client reputation with the firm and the firm's reputation with the insurance companies. So it is very much a collaborative approach, and so it makes sense to have a high value for your attorneys because really everybody is getting served and everybody is benefiting from the model that you have in place. And so, if a lawyer who is listening today wants to emulate your business practice or your settlement assertiveness and corporate culture, what would be a good first step for them to take?
I think the most important thing is to value all of your files. So you know what the value of your inventory is, what your cases are, so you can't undersettle cases because it's human nature to try to settle a case and move on and get to the next one. So that would be the first step. Also, our pod structure or team structure is very good. We have one attorney with two paralegals and we cap the number of files they are. The more complex the files are, the less files they can handle. So you may have an attorney with 150 cases, you may have one with 75 cases, depending on the complexity. But we cap it all at no paralegal will ever handle more than 75 files. And these aren't litigation, these are from start to finish. So those are the maximums for what we would call the lower valued files, not the $1 million cases, because you can only handle so many of those. It's like if you're handling a medical malpractice case, the max any attorney probably can handle is 30 because they're so complex. Same with products liability, things of that nature. So that's what we do is we cap the number of files somebody can handle, and we also tier our attorneys into, tier 1 through 5 attorneys. So, and they know how they can advance and become from a tier 5 to a tier 4 attorney so they can move up the ladder.
Well, it sounds like the expectations that you have in place are very firm, but they are also very common sense and very realistic. And it's based on having a good look internally and realistic expectations of how much somebody can take, how much they can take within their caseload, but also having a very strong principle of here is what this case is realistically worth and holding to that on both ends. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your insights with us today. I think that if a lawyer listens to this and implements even one of the strategies that you have in place today, it's not going to do anything but help service their clients better and increase revenue for their firm.
Lindsay, thank you so much for having me.